Trump reacts to China's retaliatory tariffs as U.S. stocks continue to slide. In recent days, tensions between the U.S. and China have flared up once again, impacting both global markets and American businesses. Following the announcement of China's retaliatory tariffs against U.S. imports, former President Donald Trump has weighed in with his response, and it's stirring up strong reactions across the political and business spectrum. Meanwhile, the U.S. stock market continues its downward slide, causing concern among investors and economists alike. Let's dive into Trump's reaction and the broader economic implications of this ongoing trade conflict. China's retaliatory tariffs. China has long been a major player in global trade, and the ongoing trade war between the U.S. and China has had ripple effects across many industries. In response to certain U.S. policies and tariffs, China recently decided to impose retaliatory tariffs on American goods, particularly targeting sectors that include agriculture, manufacturing, and technology. The Chinese government's decision has not been taken lightly. These tariffs are aimed at balancing the playing field in what has been a contentious relationship, with both sides taking turns raising tariffs on each other's goods over the past few years. However, this latest round of tariffs comes at a time when the U.S. economy is already facing challenges, and it has the potential to create more economic uncertainty. Trump's reaction. In response to China's latest move, former President Donald Trump has been vocal in criticizing both the Chinese government and the current administration's handling of the trade situation. Trump, who championed a tough stance on China during his presidency, has accused the Chinese government of trying to undermine U.S. interests. Trump's remarks often center around the notion that China's retaliatory tariffs are harmful to American businesses and consumers. He continues to argue that the U.S. should take a stronger stance in negotiations, suggesting that the previous administration's approach was too lenient. Many of Trump's supporters echo this sentiment, calling for a more aggressive economic strategy to ensure that U.S. interests are protected. However, some critics argue that Trump's policies, including the trade tariffs he imposed during his time in office, are partly to blame for the current economic situation. While the tariffs were initially intended to level the playing field, they also led to rising costs for U.S. businesses, which then passed those costs on to consumers. With inflation already affecting the U.S. economy, the retaliatory tariffs are only adding to the financial strain. The U.S. stock market's reaction. While Trump's statements grab attention, the broader concern for many Americans is the continued slide of U.S. stock markets. The tariffs, combined with the overall uncertainty surrounding the U.S. China trade war, have created a volatile environment for investors. Over the past few weeks, the stock market has experienced notable declines, with major indices such as the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P 500 facing significant losses. The uncertainty surrounding the future of U.S.-China trade relations has been a contributing factor to the decline, as businesses struggle to predict how these tariffs will affect their bottom lines. For investors, this represents a period of increased risk. With trade tensions rising and no clear resolution in sight, many are unsure of how to navigate the current financial landscape. Economic uncertainty often leads to more cautious investing, and many are pulling back from the markets in anticipation of further volatility. What's next? As the trade war rages on, and Trump continues to comment on the situation, the big question is what will happen next. Will there be a breakthrough in negotiations between the U.S. and China, or will the tariffs continue to escalate? For businesses, especially those in industries that are heavily reliant on trade with China, the future remains uncertain. And for consumers, the impact of the tariffs could lead to higher prices on everyday goods, further adding to the economic burden. In the coming months, it will be critical to see how both sides of the trade war respond. If the situation continues to deteriorate, it could lead to even more turmoil in the stock market, which would affect both American investors and consumers.